Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. Alright guys, I'm sure you've all heard by now, especially if you watch this channel, the DOJ just came out with 3 new gun regulations which are aimed at ghost guns, okay? Now, the video that I'm going to do right now is not on what they actually did from a standpoint of the 3 summary rules. That's yesterday's video. What I'm going to do now is actually focus on what they're doing and how it affects the actual gun community as a whole, not just a small portion, the entire whole, because what this does and their actions are showcasing their tactics and what they will do if they had their full reign and desires achieved, okay? This is why it's so important. Every other channel on the gun world is really hitting on the actual regulations that they've introduced. And that's a great thing because this is an infringement on Second Amendment rights. If it's an infringement on one of us, it's an infringement on all of us, right? We are all in this together. However, I think there's a much bigger picture here. This shows what they are intending to do and where they could go in the future, but luckily, you and I, we're on this, and I'm going to show you what they've done. I'm going to show you where they would like to go and how we can get in front of it, because there's something very important about these rules. And before I go too deep into them, I want to say one thing. There's a description, there's a link in the description box where you can leave a comment on the ATF proposed rules. It's right down there. If you guys are serious as I am about really defending our rights, this is something, I don't care who you are, this is the call to action. You can leave a public comment on the rules that they've done, because technically it's a proposed rule, and make the change you want. You don't have to wait till 2022. You don't have to go anywhere. It's clicking a link and leaving your professional and tactful opinions on how this infringes upon the Second Amendment. These are the steps that we have to get comfortable to take if we're going to achieve the mission that we've been working on for the past 5 months. We are doing it, guys, and this is a big step. Leave a comment here below if you are down to do it and if you've done it, because I have and I know a lot of you will. So let's do this together because this is our fight. Okay, so what I'm going to hit on now is what they've actually done and to kind of paint the picture for what they're doing, okay? So, first of all, check out the video yesterday if you want to see all 3 rules, by the way. They introduced these rules, but why is it actually called a rule and not a law? Okay, that's an important distinction. So what I've got on your screen is all this stuff. Everything's in the description box below, by the way. After congressional bills become laws, federal departments and agencies are responsible for implementing those laws through regulations. Regulations are developed through the federal rulemaking process. So in order for a regulation, which is an interpretation of an existing law that Congress made, because only Congress can make laws, the ATF and DOJ are in the executive branch, which is why Biden ordered them or asked them to do something from the executive branch level. They have to interpret what Congress says because Congress is the boss over here. So they're redefining things, but that's what they do. They put a rule out. Now, rules aren't forever. In fact, they are in the National Registry, which means they are vulnerable to lawsuits, which happened in the most recent rule on the screen right now. This is the bump stock ban that was completely overturned by a circuit court judge recently, like 2 weeks ago. So this was a rule, the exact same as the ghost gun rule is. It can be overturned should it become finalized, but it's not even in that point yet. We're still in the taking comments phase. Oh, we go give them some comments. But that's where we're at, and that's what's happened in the past. In fact, the comments field is so important. They tried to do a pistol ban, an AR pistol ban about, I think it was like 8 months ago, 12 months ago, and there were 80,000 comments. I did a video on it, and it prevented them from publishing the rule and finalizing it. They withdrew it because the public outcry was pretty strong. You can also reach out to your representatives, and they can reach out too. We got pressure tactics. All right, so here's what I think they're trying to do to get in front of judicial litigation, because this is going to go to court. 100%. It's very vague. There's not a lot to the description and details, but this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to back it up and tie it to an existing background check law. Attorney General Merrick Garland. Criminals and others barred from owning a gun should not be able to exploit a loophole to evade background checks and escape detection by law enforcement. Okay? Background checks, specifically mentioned in the summary. Here's the second mention. These unmarked firearms, known as ghost guns, are often assembled from kits that are sold without background checks, making them easily acquired by criminals who otherwise would not be permitted to possess a firearm. So they're trying to tie it to existing law so it gives the rule credence. That's what they're trying to do. That's what they're doing. If you look at this across the board with every other firearm, ammunition, all these different things, this is the things they will do. They will try to change the definitions in order to fit their narrative, because the laws are crystal clear, which is why they get in trouble in lawsuits, okay? Now, Here's what they've done. They've used that same tactic here, but with actually frames or uncompleted firearms. This doesn't affect 99% of the population of gun owners, but it does affect some of the Second Amendment because some people like to make their own firearms. Now, they are amending the definition of firearm to clarify when a firearm parts kit is considered a firearm. And they clarified a gunsmith, which is not that important, but I'll touch on in a second. So, here's what they're proposing. New definition of firearms, frame or receiver. Under the proposed rule, a frame or receiver is any externally visible housing or holding structure for one or more fire control components. Fire control components like hammers, springs, slides, barrels, bolts, like things of that nature that are in the inside of a firearm. That's what they're saying. If it holds it, that's considered a firearm. Now again, that's kind of vague. The weapons parts kit. Now this is something that Biden has mentioned a lot, right? You've heard a lot in the news. You can buy these without a background check and make your own firearm, right? Weapon parts kits with partially complete frames or receivers are in containing the necessary parts such that they may readily be completed, assembled, converted, or restored to expel a projectile by the action of an explosive or firearms. Basically, if it's going to become a firearm, it is a firearm. Interestingly enough, if it's going to become a baby, it's not a baby, but I digress. That's not related, right? Anyway. So, they did make one important distinction. Okay, this was a big one. A weapon, including a weapons part kit, in which each frame or receiver of the weapon or within such kit is destroyed, is not considered a firearm. If the frame or the receiver, which is the part that holds the trigger, the mechanism, all the different pieces, is destroyed, it's not a firearm. So what's going to happen, they're going to take the receiver out of these kits and sell them as complete kits without the receiver. That's all they're going to do, okay? So, that's essentially what they've done. They're also redefining any guns you make yourself that's not made from a licensed manufacturer, a privately made firearm which has to be serialized through a licensed gunsmith, which is why the licensed gunsmith was amended, because before they couldn't do that. So now, that's what they're trying to do, guys. Now, what is this actually going to affect for you as an everyday gun owner? Very little. I'll be honest, on your actual consumption of Second Amendment goods, very, very little, unless you make your own firearms, via either a 3D printer or 80% lowers, which is a very small percentage of the firearm community. Now, if you walk into a gun shop and you buy any AR, any pistol, any shotgun, all those things are done by a licensed manufacturer and they already have serial numbers on them. You won't even notice this, it won't even be a blip on the radar to your gun buying experience. But what's important here is they are starting to eat around the edges and take what they can take and hit the easy low-hanging fruit because they can't get it through Congress yet. And this is the important piece, guys. Congress is the key. In 2022, we've got to show up and show out because this is how we prevent more people like this from getting into positions. They can't put people in executive director positions in these different bureaucracies without congressional approval. They take back the Senate on the Republican side, no more. If they take back the House on the Republican side, no more gun control bills, no more crazy bills. That's how important our legislators are. And in 2022, I know you guys are there with me, and we're going to lead the way in that because we've got to pass this on, and we're going to because you guys are as fired up as I am. Let me know what you guys think in the comments field below, and until tomorrow, I'm Braden. See you later.